A very good morning, one and all. Water technology. In this chapter, you will learning about what are the water sources of the water, what is meant by hard water, what is meant by soft water, what is meant by temporary hardness and permanent hardness, and what are the disadvantages of hard water. And we will discuss about how to treatment the municipal water from the surface water or from the reservoir water. First of all, let us look about what are the surface of waters. Generally the water sources of waters are like from the surface we can see like rainwater, river water, lake water, sea water. From the underground waters we can sources of water is well water, which is the crystal clear and highly dissolved salts, highly purity from the organics. Why? Because before going to the knowing about the water technology, we should know about what are the sources of water which is available from for us. Okay, so first of all, let us know about hard water. Hard water is nothing but which is the presence of calcium and magnesium ions in the water, which are the ions already presenting, already dissolved from the rock, which is going to pass it through. Why? Because everyone have a doubt how these calcium magnesium salts are getting imposed to the water, how these salts are getting dissolved. What is the mechanism behind this? The mechanism is when the water is flow through the rocks containing calcium magnesium salts, or the rocks is going to dissolve it when it is going to pass it through. Okay, it affects properties of the tap water also. So first of all, what is the how the hard water, minerals in the hard water, which when it interacts with soap, it doesn't give any lather. Okay, so for example, say this C17H35 COONA plus CSCl2. So this C17HC, which is called sodium stearate, which is soap formula, and the calcium magnesium salts are containing it is form a white precipitate. Okay, which is white precipitate. The white precipitate, which is the composition of calcium and magnesium salt. Okay, soft water is nothing but which is a very low concentration of minerals. Soap lathers, which is soap lathers very easily and is sometimes difficult to rinse off also. That means soft water is also which containing low concentration of minerals. Okay, so first of all, how many types of hardness is there? We know hardness are temporary hardness and permanent hardness. Temporary hardness, the what are the salts containing carbonate hardness, and permanent hardness is called non-carbonate hardness. First of all, let us see temporary hardness. Temporary hardness is nothing but the calcium magnesium salts of bicarbonates. So the temporary hardness is caused due to the dissolving of bicarbonates of calcium, magnesium, and other heavy metals which are going to um, precipitated, which are going destroyed by the boiling of water. And also we can see the while boiling the salts which are going to precipitated, which are existed through the walls, that is the calcium carbonate, magnesium hydroxide. That means calcium bicarbonate, magnesium bicarbonate are completely converted into its undissolved salts. Okay, and also we know temporary hardness is also removed by the Clark method, which is a another method is going to remove the hardness, right? And we see the permanent hardness. Permanent hardness is nothing but which contain calcium magnesium salts of chlorides sulfates. So we can see calcium, we cannot remove this permanent hardness by boiling. This hardness is also called as a non-carbonate hardness, but we can remove it by the washing soda. When washing soda is added, all calcium sulfate, magnesium sulfate are converted into calcium chloride and calcium chloride and magnesium chloride. Okay, so what are the drawbacks? We discussed these things. Drawbacks are domestic purposes and industry purposes. Like washing, bathing, drinking, cooking. These are the domestic purposes. Industry purposes, which are textile industry, sugar industry, and dyeing industry, and paper industry, pharmaceutical industry. These are the most affected industries which are caused due to the hard water. Okay, and before going to the start the municipal water treatment, we have to know potable water. Potable water means which is the drinking water, which is collected from the tap or anything. We can see what are the qualities, what are the requirements of the water, which is safe to drink. From the human consumption, these are the clear, odorless water, pleasant in taste. It was cool. Turbidity. Turbidity means the water should not containing any muddy materials or muddy salts. not exceed 10 ppm, free from objectionable dissolved gases and objectionable minerals like what I said, lead, arsenic, metal should not be their pH should be 8.0. Some in some textbooks 6.5 to 7.5. It should be soft and free from diseases producing microorganisms, that is called bacteria. So these are the minimum requirements of water, which is for the potable drinking. So let us going to start. What are the municipal water treatment methods? Okay, so there are the some steps will be there. What municipal water treatment are following? First of all, they took water from the lakes and reservoirs. uh, First they will do screening. Okay, first method is screening. Second method is coagulation and sedimentation, and third method is filtration. And after that method is disinfection. I will tell you each and every one. And after the method is the water is storage in large tanks. Large tanks we can see in our streets or in our banks near the municipalities. They store the water in the large tanks. Okay, so what are the methods? First one is screening. I will tell the briefly. I will tell you just outlines. Next slides I will tell you very briefly. Screening means the water is going to collected from the lakes or reservoirs. They will remove the suspended particles first. They will do. And coagulation, sedimentation, and filtration, disinfection, and after storage. These are the basic municipal water treatment. They will follow the methods. Let us see the first one, screening. Okay, so screening. So first, the water is going to collected from the lakes or reservoirs. They pass it through a screens which are having large holes, which removing the impurities. See this. See this is a water which is going to collected from the reservoirs. They should pass the screens. That means what are the floating impurities, the macro impurities like leaves, papers, what are the things which are going to come from the reservoirs or lakes. These can remove very easily in the first process. Okay, so this method is called screening. And second method is called aeration. Aeration means in this process the water is going to float it in large spaces. The water is going to increase the percentage of air and percentage of oxygen content. Why I'm telling this means, if the oxygen content is more, the dissolved oxygen is more, the water is good for the drinking. That means the water must be containing more oxygen. More oxygen. Why we drinking the water? Drinking the water not for digestive purpose, or also water will give some amount of oxygen to their body. So for that reason, in this process, the which what the water which containing gases are exchanged between the water and air, and it increases the oxygen content of the water and removes the impurities like iron and magnesium. Manganese are very it hydroxides are very causing to the body. So that's why some impurities are removing in this process, and also increase the oxygen content of the water in this process. That's why this method is called aeration. Aeration means to increasing the water is subjected to increasing the oxygen content, and it will exchange the gases between the water and air, and so many gases, dissolved gases, are going to remove in this process. This is a step by step process. First screening is going, and second one aeration, and next is water is going to pass it through a large tanks. This is a large tanks. This process is called sedimentation. That means the water which removed floating impurities, some impurities suspended, colloidal impurities will not allowed to remove. So this process, the water is going to settle down in a large tanks about 5 to 6 hours. So then these suspended and colloidal impurities are allowed to settle down due to the gravitation. Right. The basic principle of this treatment is allow the water to flow and very slow velocity. Then the heavier particles are going to settle down. Then what happens is, like when these water is going to store it like this, which are the higher particles like suspended particles, colloidal particles, which are not removed in the screening, they can remove very easily in this method. So sedimentation is nothing but the process of storing the water in a large tanks to remove the suspended and colloidal impurities because of their gravitational force. So the basic principle is the allow water is going to allow due to this the gravities. Okay, this is called sedimentation. And next process, sedimentation with coagulation. In some books, coagulation with sedimentation, whatever it is, no problem. So what are the impurities will not removed in the sedimentation? That means what are the impurities will not going gettle down those impurities are removed in this process coagulation. Coagulation is nothing but like, see this, the water is containing these impurities, we add some chemicals like alums, sodium aluminate, like these chemicals, then these chemicals are going to combined with impurities, then the impurities will going to increase the gravity, then they're going to settle down. That means those are the impurities will not removed in the sedimentation. We're adding some chemicals, right? By adding some chemicals, this is going to accumulate, they form a colloidal particles, then the colloidal particles is going to settle down. So the chemicals which are added this process is called as coagulants. See this, this is a coagulant. Coagulation is going to happen in this process. See, when this water is going to add this chemicals, then this going to settle down here, right? So the chemicals which are added in this process like sodium aluminate, like alum, these are called as coagulants, and this process is called as coagulation. Okay, so what is meant by coagulation? The process of settle down the particles by adding chemicals like potassium, alum, like aluminate, then the particles which are not settled down in the sedimentation, they're going to settle down by forming a colloidal particles. Okay, this process is known as a coagulation. Okay, okay guys, understand now. Next, after then the process, the water is going to pass through the filtration. Filtration means this, it will remove the impurities which are not removed in the previous process sedimentation, which are removed by sand filters. This is the sand filters, right? Sand filters means this is the gravels means chips which are using in the construction basis, chips. And these are the sand water. When the water is going to flow this one, then the water which is filtered, which are the impurities filtered down, and the water is going to collected here. Okay, so these five methods, screening, screening, aeration, and sedimentation with coagulation and filtration. These five methods uh, improve remove the suspended impurities. So generally, the municipal water treatment is going to divide into two steps. One step is removing suspended impurities and removing microorganisms or bacteria. So in the first process, we remove the suspended impurities like colloidal particles by screening, coagulation, sedimentation, filtration, and aeration. Okay, now we're going to the second process, how to remove the microorganisms or bacteria which are causing diseases. So that process is called as a disinfection or sterilization. But the purpose of disinfection is to remove the bacteria and microbes which are drinking water, which causing any diseases. This is a to make drinking water is free from all these bacteria. That means destruction of harmful pathogenic means disease producing bacteria from drinking water is carried out by sterilization or disinfection. The following, these are the methods adopted in the disinfection or chlorination, ozonation. Understand what is meant by disinfection? The chemicals which are added, that means by adding chlorine or by adding ozone gases, by adding these gases, we have to remove the bacteria which are causing diseases in the water. Right. So the chlorine, ozone which are added in this process are called disinfectants, right? Disinfectants, right? Those are the two process. This is a chlorination and ozonation. Okay, so let us see individually what is meant by chlorination. Okay, chlorination is a very most common cost effective means disinfected water with, we know we know chlorination, very easy chlorination method used in our homes, like a bleaching powder, right? Not only bleaching powder, in the we learn three techniques, that is chlorine gas, that is elemental chlorine gas, we adding bleaching powder and chloramine. Okay, the process of utilizing chlorine as a powerful disinfectant is called as chlorination. Okay, so let us see. These are methods. So when the water is collected from filter, they pass it to the contacted tank. The chlorine is going to added to this tank, and the after purification, the chlorinated water is going to come out. This is a method which is used in the municipal water supplies. Okay, let us see what are the reactions is going to happen. First of all, when chloramine is going to pass, chloramine is nothing but chlorine and ammonia is going to reacted with form chloramine. When the chloramine is added to the water, which releases hypochlorous acid, HOCl. This HOCl which releases nascent oxygen. The nascent oxygen, that means nascent oxygen which which releases from the hypochlorous acid, which kills the bacteria, right? So that means the chloramine which is reacted with water which forms hypochlorous acid HOCl. This HOCl releases nascent oxygen. This nascent oxygen will kills the bacteria, right? Hypochlorous acid inactive the enzymes of the bacteria by killing the by releasing the nascent oxygen. Okay, similarly the bleaching powder also, when the bleaching powder reacts with water, it releases chlorine gas, right? When chlorine gas is reacted with water, this is also hypochlorous acid. This is a disinfectant. This hypochlorous acid again releases the nascent oxygen. Again, we go for the method and chlorination. That means chlorine gas is going to pass the same reaction. That means in these three methods, same reactions is going to happen, right? So tell me what is the best method. The best method is chlorine. Why? Because there is no impurities will be there. After this chloramine, after this bleaching powder. Why? Because bleaching powder releases calcium hydroxide. That means the bleaching powder which is added to the water, it increases the hardness. That's why we get bad smell, we get a not good taste of water, and we get a very less amount of hardness. So you can check, you can check in the summer season or the rainy season, bleaching powder is added, the bleaching powder become hard water. Okay, so these are the chlorine methods, by passing chloramine, by bleaching powder, and chlorination. Okay, these are the reactions you can practice in the examination. They ask discuss about chlorination, means you should write about the chlorination methods and these three reactions. Okay, and ozonization is not using generally because it is very cost, right? Ozone is but ozone is a strong oxidant disinfectant which is available but costly and difficult to monitor, because ozone is a very poisonous gases. So like some ozone is not good for the breathing purposes. Okay, so when ozone is divided into oxygen and nascent oxygen. This nascent oxygen will kill the bacteria in the water, which kill the germs. Okay, so these are the methods of the chlorination and the ozonization. These are the disinfection. Now again telling, disinfection is nothing but the process of killing the bacteria by adding some chemicals. The chemicals which are added in this process, those are called disinfectant. Okay, this is called disinfectant. Okay, so this is what about surface treatment of water. Again telling the treatment of water. Screening. Screening is removing floating impurities by passing through large holes. And sedimentation and coagulation, storage in a large tanks about 5 to 6 hours. uh, um, Due to this process the water is going to settle down. And coagulation nothing but adding some chemicals, like sodium aluminate and potash alum. We have to remove the impurities which are not removed by the sedimentation reaction. Okay, and after this the water is going to pass through the filtration. In this process sand filters are used. In this process also emitting properties. So there are these five methods are removing the suspended impurities. Now this method disinfection is going to call removing the microorganisms. So we, according to the syllabus, we discussed about chlorination and ozonization. Okay, so these are the techniques which are using for the municipal water treatment. Okay, so in the next class we will know about how to prepare the methods industrial, how to industrially treatment the soft water by using geolite process and ion exchange process. Okay, so these are the methods which you are going to know. So briefly go through it. Any doubts, you will ping me in the YouTube channel. Okay, thank you so much.